Good afternoon and welcome to the Federal Executive Forum celebrating 20 years of profiling excellence in government IT mission programs. I'm Luke McCormack. During today's show, we will discuss best practices with artificial intelligence strategies and programs in the federal government. With me on today's show are Donald Coulter, Senior Science Advisor for Cybersecurity, Department of Homeland Security, Science and Technology; Israel Song, Deputy Director, Office of Artificial Intelligence, Central Intelligence Agency, often known as the CIA; Chad Cisco, Chief Customer Officer, Data Robot; Nate Riley, Field Sales Manager, Public Sector, BMC Helix; Janet Calaria, Senior Vice President, Digital Modernization, Analytics, and AI at ICF. All right, we're talking all things AI. I'm going to start with UDC, as you like to be called, science and technology. I often think of Petri dish and, the sandbox. It's way bigger than that. You all are operationalizing a lot of this capability, making sure it's getting into the operator's hands. Give us a top line as to what's happening with AI at DHS these days.
All right, so we're moving out kind of fast and strong, right? So we're moving out in terms of implementing our comprehensive artificial intelligence strategy, which is focused on innovation and governance and public trust. It's inclusive of aligning our AI efforts with the administration priorities and accelerating our use of AI through America's AI Action Plan as well. We were looking at this in terms of our missions, right? In terms of securing the border, streamlining customs and international travel, enhancing our passenger experience and security, as well as investigating transnational crime and detecting and preventing cybersecurity incidents, which is the area that I focus in the most as a cybersecurity science advisor. We have active AI use cases and implementations that we'll kind of go into, but I just wanted to highlight also, in addition to kind of our active plans, we have 3 AI maturity goals, which includes setting up our enabling infrastructure, focusing on our data governance and management, as well as our strategic mission delivery. So as we set up this enabling infrastructure that kind of pulls together our common consolidated IT capabilities that allows us to kind of scale across cloud platforms and improve our data accessibility. So it supports our test and evaluation capabilities as well. And we do recognize that we have to have high quality data that's kind of traceable and shareable and reusable if we're going to really truly leverage and take advantage of the capabilities that the AI presents to us. So we're reevaluating all of our data policies and our data management implementations, looking for ways we can streamline them to make us a more data-centric organization. And finally, as we pull all that infrastructure together in our governance and management, we're looking at strategic mission delivery. And that's inclusive of where our research and development is focused, because that's a key part of that, right? So our R&D, both in AI and applying AI to our missions, really helps us stay at the forefront of these technological advancements. We're encouraging collaboration. We work with academia, we work with industry partners and government agencies to foster that innovation and drive development of new AI solutions across the board. So I'm excited to talk about some of the initiatives and progress that we've made so far. Thanks for having me.
No doubt, a lot going on, collaboration. It's definitely a team effort. When you hit the mission part of it, right, that's where we win. And cybersecurity is so important. A great use case there. So we appreciate everything that you're doing there. Israel, a lot going on in your space over there. Why don't you give us a top line and sort of the state as to how you're approaching the AI game over at the Central Intelligence Agency?
Absolutely, Luke. And thanks to Tom and the Federal Executive Network for having us this morning. Happy to be here. I want to be here today to share where CIA stands on our AI journey. I want to share what's working, what we're learning, and where we see this technology taking the intelligence mission in the years ahead. I think the first thing that we're noting is that we've spent years building the foundation and now we're scaling AI. Over the past few years, we've made significant investments in foundational infrastructure to make AI broadly available across CIA. We built a state-of-the-art model repository, a data model exchange, and models as a service platform. We've created a chatbot. We've deployed it across the agency and the greater intelligence community. And we've partnered with 4 major cloud providers to bring frontier models into our environment.
Mm.
We're able to make new models rapidly available to users, sometimes as soon as 7 to 10 days after they're released. Now, the current state is that we have hundreds of AI projects working to bring capabilities to our mission space. We have an AI literacy program that has reached thousands of officers, and right now we're kind of at an inflection point, Luke. We moved decisively beyond asking, should we adopt AI, to asking, how do we operationalize it responsibly at scale? So, in other words, we've successfully completed an additional adoption phase, and now we're expanding the capabilities and trying to transform mission execution. So, now what we need is strategic stewardship. We still need to accelerate the adoption of AI while optimizing resource allocations through prioritization and the elimination of redundancies. And now we're trying to work AI into our mission workflows, not just as experimental tools, but as reliable capabilities, changing how our workforce operates daily. So, in answer to your question, Luke, there's a lot going on.
There certainly is. And speaking of scaling and stewardship, et cetera, insert Data Robot. Chad, tell us about Data Robot, where they sort of fit in the stack, and then what's the state of the state from the Data Robot's point of view?
Yeah, thank you, Luke. Great to be back on the show again. Yeah, the recent years have just had, a breathtaking progress in AI. I think we've all been amazed at what we've seen, maybe even commercially from LLMs, and now building those into generative solutions or even agentic solutions, right? Huge expansion and the opportunity for mission impact, but also exponential growth in technology solutions, right? And so, where Data Robot fits in that, to answer your question, Luke, we, several years old company now, got our foundation in automated machine learning and machine learning operations. And that was a great springboard for these new technologies for us. So we could bring the same governance, infrastructure, and scalability that we have for machine learning models and do the same thing for large language models and now for agentic solutions. So we are at that layer in the stack above the hardware, but we can work across all different compute environments, whether it be any of the major cloud providers, some of the emerging neo cloud GPU providers, or even in your own customer data center or self-managed. So we that one platform, all hardware to operate and govern your AI solutions. And from what we see with our work in the government, or frankly our work globally, I think the most successful organizations are really focused on building a cohesive approach that incorporates 3 things. One is the ability to do a rapid experimentation. You really want to have an environment that's safe for as many users as possible to experiment with ideas that won't get out in the wild, but but can test these opportunities and see which ones have a material opportunity. But that you can scale that quickly. So, for example, Office of Secretary of Defense's Advana is an environment we're in, working with a number of agencies across that environment as a great kind of playbound experimentation place. And then to move from that to production, of course, you have to have a unified governance. And so I think the organizations who are moving quickly have thought through that ahead of time. How will we govern large language models in production? What are the guardrails? What is the access controls we will provide to ensure only the right data is accessed in a transparent, governed way? And last, you need to be able to take those 2 things and put them in production. So a unified solution, which starts with experimentation, has your governance built in, but can also scale to thousands of users, bringing those same guardrails with you, as well as access controls. So we find the agencies that are moving the fastest have kind of thought of those 3 things and built an infrastructure that allows them to move quickly. I might give one example that we're working on we think is pretty interesting. It's called a radio intelligence agent. We're building this in collaboration with DeepWave and NVIDIA. And the idea here is have an RF receiver with compute at the edge. So now not only is your receiver sending everything back, but your receiver's smart. It's understanding who's talking, what events are going on, and can choose which of those to actually send back to the cloud and then have a conversational agent to be able to interrogate what you hear back. And to make that possible, you have to have all those things that started with rapid experimentation. We have the governance that's scalable. And then ultimately, it's something I'll talk about later, hopefully, is you need these fit for purpose models, a model of the right size that can operate on the chip at the edge, and then another model back in the cloud that can help process that information. And we see that as just one example of the many exciting solutions to come.
No doubt, and an excellent example, that's for sure. Appreciate it. Nate, how about at, well, BMC widely known, and all of a sudden here comes Helix out of the ashes, right, into the emerging, and quite a powerful capability there. Tell us about where you all are in regards to the AI space and what it looks like from BMC's point of view.
Thanks, Luke, and thanks for having us this morning. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I think from a little bit from what was said a little earlier, it's we've seen early pilots that were focused on the chatbots and summarizations. I think right now a lot of it's moving to agentic AI and
Hmm.
delivering real business impact. For us, it's service and operations management, and that's our kind of space that we're working in. And agentic AI is a great starting point for many agencies. So you've got service management. Think about use cases like case management, incident management, change management, and all of those can be AI enabled to focus on your high impact work, self-service for end users or customers, for high quality, using high quality artificial intelligence. For us, we call it employee navigator, or service collaborator, which is like your GPS almost for the IT support or support agents that are working on those tickets. And then from an IT operations standpoint, AI can help automate those repetitive tasks. Think about natural language and getting an assistant to say like, hey, what's causing a certain spike or login failure or service outage, and just conversational language, and that generating a response very easily, without a lot of training, and then using the tools that you have in house like Microsoft Teams. So we're just seeing a lot of reduction in backlog, improved decision making, and you still need human accountability, right? So key themes are embedded AI, not standalone tools for us, and then human in the loop to help monitor these things, governance and workflow integration and risk managed adoption. So
And I
we'll get
love the
into it a
fact
little
that you all
more.
have taken this tremendously powerful platform and really unlocked a lot of this capability with the use of this technology. So hats off to BMC for making everything much more productive.
Thank you.
Janik, how about at ICF? You all are, well, you've got a very powerful organization doing some very powerful things. You're striped across a lot of communities. Give us a state of status to what the focus and attention is across this digital modernization, analytics, and AI.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. Great to be here on this exciting panel discussion. So at ICF, as a professional services organization, view AI as a mission enabler rather than a technology experiment. So our strategy is grounded in delivering measurable outcomes for the agencies we support that spans, federal civilian, Department of War, and a lot of state and local governments as well. So first, we're helping clients move from pilots to production. As you all know, many agencies have dabbled with AI, but scaling it securely in regulated environments is a real challenge. As evidenced by the AI report we recently published, wherein we surveyed over 200 federal leaders. Now, as per that report, 41% of agencies are running AI pilots, with only 8% reporting large-scale adoption. So that's where we're focusing on implementing governance frameworks, responsible AI practices, focusing on making data AI ready, as 83% say their data isn't ready yet for AI, and that's typically the foundation, as well as human in the loop models, so agencies can deploy AI with confidence. Second, we're embedding AI directly into operational workflows instead of building as standalone siloed applications. So for example, we're using generative AI to accelerate document review, summarizing large volumes of public comments, enhance customer experience through intelligent virtual assistants, and improve decision-making with advanced analytics. So these capabilities are reducing manual effort and allowing the workforce to focus on higher value activities. Third, we're investing internally to bring repeatable solutions to our clients, from AI accelerators to cloud-enabled architectures, so agencies don't have to start from scratch each time, which is why we've launched ICF Fathom, a suite of tailored AI solutions and services featuring customizable AI agents, which are designed to maximize the value of AI for agencies. It's open, modular, built on open source stack, and can embed directly into existing infrastructures and rapidly configure to agency environments, giving our clients flexibility to adapt, scale, and evolve at their own pace and on their own terms. Finally, we're prioritizing workforce readiness as it remains a key challenge in fully adopting AI. So I mentioned about the report earlier. 70% of agencies say they will need to upskill their existing workforce and hire new talent with AI-specific skills. Technology alone doesn't transform organizations, adoption does. And workforce is a key part of that. So we're helping agencies upskill their workforce, establish clear use policies, and build a culture that embraces AI responsibly. So to wrap it all up, our focus is very pragmatic. Deploy AI where it drives mission impact, do it securely, and scale it in a way that delivers sustained value.
Love the fact that you're using and really leveraging AI to deliver AI, and we really do appreciate that. And the upskill capability, that's a super important issue. Israel, I'm going to jump up to you and talk about use cases, right? We like to specifically highlight an area that you want to illuminate for the listening audience there. You want to give us an example of a specific use case?
Yeah, thanks, Luke. Let me give one example, which is content triage. The situation
What
where
was it called again?
content triage,
Content triage. I love it.
where you've got so much data, but you're having a hard time unearthing the intelligence value out of all that data, and you need artificial intelligence to help. Here at CIA, we've got AI-powered translation, transcription, summarization. Those free up officers to focus on higher order judgment and complex tasks. Tools like chatbots and models as a service, they put the large language models and the RAG techniques, retrieval augmented generation techniques, directly into analysts and targeters' hands. So the combination of all these things helps us manage content triage. The analysts can quickly process vast amounts of data so they can focus on the most critical work. And already we're seeing significant benefits to CIA's intelligence mission, even in the international crisis events that have happened over the last few months. So what's happening is we're integrating the AI capabilities directly into the workflows that officers use to do their work. And this is the real multiplier. It's not the AI or the cloud in isolation, but all the elements of the AI tech stack working together, helping us to analyze all source intelligence to create insights at speed, scale, and quality we simply can't produce otherwise without artificial intelligence. Once again, it's the AI stack on top of the IT stack, and that integrated approach of the two stacks is key.
You know, what's interesting there is I would imagine in some cases that the field officers don't even realize they're using AI on the back end, which is incredible and impressive. And we really do appreciate that use case. All right, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We are talking about artificial intelligence and all things associated to that. And we're talking about specific examples. Nate, I'm going to throw it over to you. Give us an example that you'd like to highlight for the audience in regards to the use of BMC Helix in the federal environment or outside of the federal environment, quite frankly.
Yeah, it could be commercial or public sector. I think first off, if it's not delivering clear day-to-day mission value, it's not going to be adopted, number one. So one successful pattern we're seeing in AI, it's applied to like high volume, rule-based workflows and automations there. So particular in service ops, service management and operations. And we're seeing a lot of the agencies and clearly commercial customers to summarize like cases or incidents, recommend next actions for someone that's working on it. Again, like that guidance for someone to say, hey, check out this knowledge article. This could help you solve this issue. And that services knowledge automatically based on the context entered into, whether that's the employee navigator or service collaborator type tool sets. And then triaging, right, to get it to the right person that's going to handle that or people. So the results measurable reductions in handling time, and then you've got improved consistency across the board. So again, make it operational with high value use cases.
Absolutely, and we really do appreciate that. Janik, let's jump down to you. You brought up a lot of very interesting points on your opening there, including your framework there and the open architecture, which we really appreciate. You want to give us an example of a specific use case?
Yep. So one example that stands out is how we helped agencies apply AI to manage and analyze large volumes of unstructured data, like particularly public comments and stakeholder feedback that inform regulatory and policy decisions. So traditionally, reviewing thousands, sometimes millions of comments is highly manual and time intensive. So we've implemented a secure human in the loop AI capability that classifies submissions, identifies key themes, detects sentiments, and flags potential risks or emerging issues for analysts. So the impact has been significant. So review timelines have been cut short by more than 50%. Consistency has improved, and more importantly, agency staff can now focus more time on interpretation and decision making rather than sorting through data. Just as importantly, we build the solutions with responsible AI principles, making sure the decisions how are being made are transparent, auditable, and appropriate oversight is in place, which is critical in a federal regulated environment. You talk about use cases. So I mentioned about Fathom. So one of the things we're also doing with Fathom is building agents which are very specific to certain use cases, which are common in the government. So for example, an agent that helps with grant reviewing, an agent that helps with fraud, waste, and abuse detection. So if you all remember, back in was it 2009, like iPhone had this commercial about, we have an app for that. You want to check the snow conditions in a mountain, we have an app for that. So now with Fathom, what we're focusing on is we have an agent for that. So focusing on use cases very commonly used across different parts of the government and having an agent which is very focused on a specific use case.
Excellent. And it sounds like these I'll call them purpose-built capabilities that are available are part of that open architecture, which we certainly appreciate that as well. Donald, how about over at, well, let's call you DC. I like DC and I like science and technology. Give us a specific use case that you'd like to
Oh,
highlight for us.
all right. Yeah, it's hard to pick just one, so I'll
I
try to
know, I
kind of
know. You
tell you a
guys are
couple
cooking
things
all
that we're
kinds of
doing
stuff over there.
here. So we're definitely supporting our operational partners and helping them streamline their operations and cyber resilience efforts. But I want to talk about some of the kind of infrastructural things that we're doing to support our components across the department. So one of them is our remote identity validation rally events that we have. We launched them in collaboration with the Transportation Security Agency, Customs and Border Patrol, and even partnering with NIST and some other interagency partners. And where we evaluate the performance and security of private sector remote ID validation technologies, which use AI, ML throughout for document authentication, for facial recognition, liveness detection, and fraud prevention. So what we did was take these, put them through the ringer, through the crucible, if you will, and pulled out critical data that we can use to kind of evaluate and inform our components of what systems and technologies can we use to identify fraudulent documents, resist adversarial attacks, including those that are using generative AI, and how do they perform across a variety of user demographics as they're going through these different points and interactions. We also have a more generalized test and evaluation federation test bed that kind of allows us to put general AI solutions and models through the test so we can kind of see where are these applications, where does it work across the department, and where might it not be so useful. And this allows us to kind of quickly scale, figure out what's promising without spending exorbitant amounts of funds. We can kind of quickly identify opportunities, do a quick test, and see if they're going to be useful. So these are just some of the areas that we're kind of supporting from a research and test and evaluation opportunity that supports a lot of missions across the department.
Extremely important to be doing that. And, if you think about what's going on with FIFA on the way, right, the World Cup, and then the Olympics right around the corner. And every time I talk to a CIO or a CISO, they're always talking about identity management, right? So appreciate all the work that you're doing there to pressure test those environments. Chad, how about a data robot? Give us a specific example that you'd like to highlight.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think what we're seeing in terms of real mission impact, like measurable impact today, the places that the government's making the most progress is those examples that have some parallel potentially to the commercial industry, where there's a number of people working on investment going behind it. So the three biggest areas I think we've seen in terms of impact today is logistics, equipment readiness, and then people readiness. I'll give you an example in logistics. For example, at US Transcom, we're working with them to leverage AI to better understand when equipment will arrive and shorten that decision loop. So we've built forecasting models that predicts on-time delivery, about 40% better than what they were doing before. But more importantly, they went from making decisions over weeks to hours now and understand when that equipment will arrive. And we see examples like that at every step of the supply chain, from procurement to maintenance to operational efficiency. And where we can go next with that, to bring something from the commercial example in space, we're working with a global manufacturer to not only take that forecast, but put an agentic solution on top of it, which now understands this customer has 500,000 end customers themselves. So they used agent when the forecast changes. What were the 10 biggest changes in the forecast? In a secure way, search the internet and understand what global news may have affected why this particular customer is now ordering less, and provide that to the executives of the business in a nice, succinct report that they can understand, get insights, and then even ask questions back if they want to go deeper. And we're
Mm.
finding this allows you to eliminate, I shouldn't say eliminate, it allows you to repurpose a number of analysts to think more strategically rather than just running the numbers.
Yeah, get those analysts up the value chain. I love it, and we really do appreciate the use case. All right, we're going to talk about priorities. Janik, I'm going to start with you. Top two priorities. I know you all are focusing on a lot of stuff. You've gotten a lot of demand signal coming in. What's the focus for you all in 2026?
So top two comes to mind, as I mentioned, building purpose, creating those agents which are focused on specific use cases. So I'll give you one example. So, we've been doing a lot of work in fraud-based and abuse in the healthcare space. But the same fraud-based and abuse, if you go to like social welfare or, other programs, is totally different. So we want to take those agents one step further and have them curated along the lines of the specific use cases that we're building. So that's one. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, like the big focus is helping our clients move from pilots to production. So doing a pilot is easy, but scaling enterprise-wide, that's not as easy, as you all know. So as part of our Fathom offering, we have a playbook that provides a stepwise approach on how to scale a pilot to an enterprise-wide adoption by focusing on key aspects such as how do you make your data AI ready? That's typically the foundation. How do you make the infrastructure available with governance in place? How do you focus on enterprise process maturity with emphasis on interoperability to avoid building silos, scalability, and reusability? And along with that, like upskilling is a key aspect. So I think Israel talked about AI literacy, right? So that's a big focus for us across the board. So if like developers and engineers, how can they better adopt agentic coding? But it just doesn't stop there. We also are focusing on the business analysts. How can they use AI to write better user stories? How can project managers use AI to help them identify project risk? It gets ahead of time. So for example, in a recent project, we had a Fathom agent, tell the project manager that, hey, if you don't increase your velocity by 35% in the next 5 sprints, you run the risk of missing a key contractual deliverable. Key focus is using AI throughout the entire software development lifecycle. And that's one of the key priorities for us next year.
Excellent use case there, and we really do appreciate that, including that upskill, so important. Israel, give us your top two priorities. I know you all have a dump truck full of them, I'm sure. But how about highlighting the top two there?
We've got tons of top priorities, but I'll highlight two for you
Sure.
that maybe haven't been mentioned so far in this program. The first one I'd like to mention is mission enablement at the edge, right? So we're talking about deploying artificial intelligence closer to edge devices in the field. And that's critical for a workforce that operates in remote or hostile environments where maybe you don't or can't get an internet connection. And here in this way, AI agents and small language models might provide some advantages for these edge use cases. They've got lower or no bandwidth requirements, lower latency, and lower compute costs. And this is an active area of experimentation and research for us at CIA. We're looking forward to partnerships with private industry in this area to figure out what solutions work best. The second area I want to highlight is governance and risk management. So why is governance and risk management so important? It's because our intelligence business is a no-fail mission, and we need to build trust in the AI systems that we're building so that officers can trust the outputs. To do that, we've established formal governance structures, including the AI Risk Management Framework and the AI Governance Board. Each directorate and mission center has a designated AI risk officer, and we're implementing rigorous test and evaluation framework in accordance with the testing protocols mandated in IC Directive 505. We're taking AI capabilities, and not just the models, it's the systems that they're integrated into, testing them for robustness, reliability, security, and fairness or lack of bias. We want to make sure that the AI capabilities we're bringing into CIA are delivering what we plan and intend for them to deliver. And that's a very important part, and that's an area where we also look forward to cooperation with the private sector to figure out, can we bring better testing and evaluation into the intelligence community?
Love the call out to the private sector, and the trust is so critical, right? I mean, these are life and death decisions these officers are making. So we really do appreciate that. Chad, top two priorities for Data Robot in 2026.
Yeah, our top priorities coming year, number one is enabling agentic workforce. We've talked about it a little, moving from predictive or generative solutions to truly agentic solutions. Um, the human in the loop is an important aspect of that, right? So we see the world evolving where humans today, especially in the government, may flip between 13 different applications to do their daily work. We want to partner with agencies and build solutions that have a single workflow for that human and bring the data and the decisions to them rather than them clicking to new solutions. So we expect that to really roll out. It'll start with quite a bit of human interaction and individual approvals, but as trust and confidence is built in agents, then we expect more and more of that time to be freed up for, again, the humans to think about more strategic things and find areas to improve. And so that'll be our main focus. And then I think second focus is, as I mentioned a minute ago, and building what Israel said, is the AI needs to occur where either the data is or where the sensors are. So building solutions which can have multiple different model sizes that are fit for purpose for what you're trying to do in that particular environment, whether it be on the edge, in your data center, or in the cloud, and having a single solution that can work across all environments will be our second priority.
Really important area of focus, right? And an area that needs a lot of improvement, quite frankly. DC, I know that all the components at DHS are lined up trying to fight for the S&T resources, and you've got to rack and stack those. So top two priorities that the leadership is saying must do in 2026.
All right, awesome. So yeah, you're certainly right. There's a lot going on here. So I'll just name a couple. So one is uh, expanding our cyber resilience for networks and critical infrastructure, and that's
Mhm.
focused on leveraging AI to help us close the software understanding gap. We have that across. We have so much software out there throughout our critical infrastructure that it's very difficult and manually intensive to actually get an understanding of what exactly it's doing. How can it reach failure states that we weren't prepared for, and how can we kind of start identifying and building new software in the future that doesn't have those issues. Another area where we're very highly focused on is the kind of counter UAS mission and the UAS mission, and being able to use AI to, one, improve our ability to use drones and other things to help us surveil and understand our areas, and especially with we have these major events and significant operations that we can use them, but also to counter adversarial attempts to disrupt our events and our use of our technologies to implement our mission. So those are some of the top two areas that I see us focusing on for the next year. Again, it's improving our cyber capabilities as well as focus on counter UAS missions.
Counter UAS has really come to the forefront in a lot of different ways and a lot of different use cases. And sadly, we're seeing a lot of these various activities going on. So hats off for you all for focusing your attention on that. Nate, how about at BMC Helix? top 2 priorities for you all in 2026?
Absolutely. I think ours are more for the customer, right? And it sounds like
Sure.
agencies
It's all
are
about the customer,
that's
directly
exactly
or
it.
indirectly,
That's
right?
exactly it. So, in our world, it's moving more towards enterprise adoption, right? And adoption happens when you can show clear value, policy alignment, and real defensible outcomes. So it must work within, frameworks and NIST and things like that. So I think focusing from just like the answers to getting things done, and then also an agentic system that execute tasks, operates under defined guardrails, and keeps humans in the loop, right? And bottom line is AI is moving, to that responsible execution, and everybody's got a little different thought process on policies and governance and all those types of things. So I think it's focusing on that, but also delivering a fantastic product.
Abs Absolutely, and we really do appreciate all that activity. All right, we're going to jump over to a question that I love to ask. I'm going to start with you, Chad. And you all are at the vanguard of this capability out there in your agencies and your companies. And there's always lessons learned, right? Chad, I'd like for you to sort of highlight what's the sort of top lesson learned that you all encounter with your various communities when it comes to the immersion of AI.
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson we have learned and our customers have learned is a scaling impact is a lot harder than building the demo. So it's pretty easy to get to a really impressive demonstration of a solution in a lab environment, even maybe on your laptop. But to take that to something that's truly production grade, I think requires 3 things. The biggest challenge most organizations faced is just this trade-off between cost, accuracy, and latency. What worked using my commercial model on my laptop is not going to scale to 5,000 users because the cost of that LLM will be too high, or if we use a smaller one, will be too latent. So you really need an approach to be able to, how do we make those trade-offs between cost, accuracy, and latency in the test environment? So we're thinking about the scalability, right? And that comes back to these things like, where can we use a smaller language model? Where can we use less compute to make something truly scalable? And then I think the other 2 barriers that come up, we've talked about trust a bit, but you've got to be thinking about how do you build in trust from the beginning? What observability will be available not only in experimentation, but then also in deployment. So we can measure how the model's performing or the agent's performing. And then the last thing I'd say is deployment's just like day one. You also have to think about day 90. How are we going to refresh this solution over time as we learn more things? New data becomes available, different components change out, and an interchangeable framework that allows that deployment to stay live as new components are added. Those are the 3 things we think organizations have to understand to be able to truly scale AI solutions.
3 things and 3 things that are very important. All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We're talking about all things AI. We're talking about lessons learned specifically. I'm going to throw it over to you, Janik. You all do a lot of various things in regards to AI as far as deployments. Give us your top lesson learned that you've experienced as you're rolling these things out to your customers.
Yep. One of the biggest lessons we've learned is like AI success is less about which algorithm you pick, which model, which LLM to use, but more about operational ecosystem around it. So we always say, start with a mission problem first, not the technology. Like what problem you're trying to solve. And what does success look like? Define that on day one. You're trying to decrease time to make decisions. You're trying to reduce cost, trying to improve quality. Because what we've seen is the most successful AI programs are anchored in clear, high-value use cases where AI can measurably speed, quality, or decision advantage. So organizations that begin with where can AI help tend to move faster and has more sustained value than those asking how do we use AI. Goes hand in hand is the governance part. Governance cannot be an afterthought. Like responsible AI, data security, model transparency, and human oversight must be designed in from day one, especially in regulated public sector environments where trust is non-negotiable.
Israel, I want to talk to you about lessons learned, right? You're right in the vanguard of this capability, implementing this. I'm sure some of it has gone extremely well, maybe in some cases you want to give the audience some heads up.
Yeah,
Lessons learned.
yeah, absolutely. And I think some of the comments, Janik and others who have said about lessons learned, I think that's absolutely key. You know, I want to highlight two things that I think haven't been mentioned yet. One is um, the barriers to technological change with AI. You know, we have a saying at CIA that culture eats technology for lunch every day. The greatest
Love it.
barriers to AI adoption, they're not technological. They're centered around culture and centered around talent. So, for example, when we talk about transforming workflows, it requires decomposing how we work. What steps absolutely need human judgment? And what steps in our workflows can AI automate? And how do we build trust in AI outputs? Those aren't real technological questions. Those are actually questions about how we do our work. So when we talk about transforming workflows, we're actually talking about transforming the organizational culture at CIA with how we do our business. Second thing I want to highlight is that partnership between mission experts and AI experts is critical. Here in our agency, we have people who've done the mission for a decade or more. They are veteran and they're experts at their jobs, but they're not experts at AI. And we also have experts at AI. We have AI scientists and data scientists, really smart people who really understand how this new technology is taking shape. So AI literacy for everyone is only the first step. The next step is we need to have a really strong partnership between those mission experts who know the mission and the AI experts who really know AI to unlock intelligence value from all these vast data troves. So this partnership model where deep mission understanding meets deep technical understanding, that's how we're going to operationalize AI at scale. So that's a huge lesson learned for us.
Absolutely, and a great highlight for the listening audience to focus on and be aware of. Nate, top lesson learned for you all at BMC Helix.
I think the biggest lesson is going to be around AI amplifying whatever foundation data you have. If it's fragmented, AI is going to expose it,
Hmm.
and AI will stress it. Right. So if I'm looking for something that doesn't exist, I'm not going to get the best answer. So I think successful programs invest in change management and policy clarity as much as they do in the model performance. We have a BYO, or bring your own LLM. But again, that foundation data is key, and where we're pulling that from. Is it from SharePoint? Is it from knowledge? Is it from past ticket data and information like that? So, I think it's start kind of narrow, prove that value, and then expand from there. Big bang AI initiatives rarely succeed, especially in government. So those are
Sure.
some of those things that we've learned.
Really do appreciate that. DC, how about at SNT? You all are, again, sort of experimenting and then going into operational and technology transition. So you've seen it all. Give us a, top couple of lessons learned there that people should be aware of.
Yeah, I was laughing. Janik said start with the mission, but I say start with the technology first. No, I'm just kidding. We have to really
Says
be
the technologist.
laser focused. But in all seriousness, we really are laser focused on the mission and potential applications for how this technology can help us with the mission, as well as how we can make sure that we're resilient to adversarial and counter adversarial uses of artificial intelligence. So that's front of mind for us. And what we're learning is that we have to be very intentional about our learning apparatus, capturing the data, like asking, documenting those. What questions are we asking? Why are we asking? What do we want to know? How do we learn from both our kind of our try and buy quick prototype initiatives, as well as our longer term foundational research? And how do we? You have to be able to integrate all of that data over time and make that accessible to people so that they can make decisions. You have to be flexible. The other thing I want to say is we have to be flexible, right? This area is advancing so rapidly that sometimes you could pursue something, and by the time you develop this capability, someone else has popped out with something that's even better and cheaper and easier to implement. So we have to have that flexibility. I know we were building custom foundation models to help us with one of our cyber objectives. And then over time, we realized, hey, actually, just kind of fine tuning this foundational model is already kind of commercially available actually gives us the better results quicker, and allows us to get after the mission faster. So being able to kind of fail, experiment, be comfortable with kind of failure, be comfortable with another solution coming along within your kind of tech acquisition and evaluation time frame is going to be key to successful implementation overall.
Yeah, that tech evaluation and insertion really important. Something that in parts of the government not used to fully operating like that. So we really do appreciate that. All right, let me ask you about the future. Fast forward 2 years, and if we could paint a picture and you could focus on what it's going to look like 2 years from now, what ICF is going to be focusing their attention on, give us a sort of a look into that crystal ball.
Okay. So when I think about the next 2 to 5 years, I believe we'll look back on this period as a point where AI shifted from being a promising capability to becoming foundational infrastructure for how government operates. So first, we'll see a meaningful acceleration in decision making. Like leaders will no longer have to wait weeks or even months as it takes right now for analysis. Like AI will continuously synthesize vast amounts of structured and unstructured data, provisioning near real-time insights to support policy, operational, and mission decisions. Now, that speed translates directly into better responsiveness and response to citizens and emerging risks. Second, government employees will be augmented in powerful ways. Like AI will reduce the administrative and cognitive burden that consumes so much of today's workforce. Think about drafting documents, summarizing complex materials, analyzing cases, responding to inquiries. The result isn't a smaller workforce, but rather a more empowered one that can focus on judgment, strategy, and high-value problem solving. Third, from citizens' perspective, the experience will significantly improve. Like interactions with the government will become more intuitive, personalized, and timely. Whether that's faster benefits processing, smarter contact centers, or clearer communication, people will increasingly experience government as accessible and responsiveness rather than complex and slow. We also expect major advances in regulatory and oversight capabilities. So AI can help agencies detect fraud earlier, identify anomalies, strengthen compliance monitoring, and improve the defensibility of decisions through better traceability and analytics. But again, as my fellow panelists have said, none of this happens without trust. The next several years, one of the most important improvements will be the maturation of responsible AI frameworks, like greater transparency, stronger governance, clear policies, and embedded human oversight. Trust will become a competitive advantage for institutions. And so to that end, at ICF, our strategy is centered on making this future practical. That means helping agencies move beyond pilots, building secure and scalable architectures, and focusing relentlessly on mission outcomes.
We really appreciate that outlook and look forward to that. It sounds extremely powerful, and we appreciate everything that ICF is doing today and what they're going to be doing tomorrow. So thank you very much for that. Well, we're going to fast forward here and take a look at the future. Nate, I want to ask you, if you were to fast forward 2 to 3 years, what's it going to look like 2 to 3 years from now in regards to BMC, Helix? What capabilities are going to be out there, and what are we going to be experiencing?
It's such a hard thing to think about 2 to 3 years from now with AI. Things have changed so fast, but I think overall it's going to be embedded. I mean, in a lot of ways it is nowadays, but I think it'll definitely be embedded in your systems. It should help reduce administrative burden. I think UI changes are going to take place. Kind of meet the employee where they are versus portals and things like that, because our interfaces today, like a Chat GPT or a Gemini, it's just type it in and you get the response, right? So it's going to improve those response times and hopefully surface those risk signals earlier, things that'll happen like that. And so I think you're going to see reduced backlog. There's going to be a better experience and faster operational responses and more consistent policy execution. So but again, it's about leadership, right, and how that's going to play out, and the choices we make now and the guardrails we put in place will define that outcome. So it's a lot to think about in the next 2 to 3 years, that's for sure.
Absolutely, and staying left of those problem opportunities. Always look forward to that as well. Chad,
Absolutely.
fast forward, data robot. You all are right in the thick of things today. You certainly will be tomorrow. What can we expect to see 2 to 3 years from now?
Yeah, we expect, again, this agentic workforce for the AI to evolve from the tool that it might be today to a true collaborator, to the humans working with it, agents handling routine tasks so personnel can focus on the high-level strategy. We'll start with semi-autonomous agents in a user-centric workflow that's approving specific steps, but as trust in the agents improve, agent autonomy will improve, and the AI will be abstracted away, and humans and coming to work each day will just see this as the new they work. We see a tremendous amount of government efficiency coming from that, as well as frankly a happier workforce as the workflows are now built around the human and what they're doing each day. I think we see three really important things, though, to make that a reality. One, and it's been talked about on the cast already, we need seamless integration with all the different data sources and data silos. So where your HR data is, where your maintenance data is, your record systems, the agentic workforce needs to have access to each of these systems and the proper controls. And then we also need for scalability, as I mentioned earlier, the expansion of fit for purpose models so that each agent has a model somewhat fine-tuned for the task it's trying to perform, keeping costs down, latency down. And then last, especially for government, we see the need for what we'll call sovereign and secure AI, where the agencies can run the AI in the environment where their data is, where their are, whether that's at the edge or in the cloud, but really specific to the mission that agency is trying to require.
Really looking forward to that future, and we really do appreciate everything that Data Robot is doing to make that happen. Israel, I'm a freshly minted officer graduating out of the farm, and you stick me over in Timbuktu. What's that going to look like 2 to 3 years from now? What kind of tools and capabilities are going to be available to me?
In addition to all those great things that Chad just said, I want to mention two things. I want to talk about a transformation in human machine teaming and then a transformed daily operations. So the first one is, this year we're going to have, human CI officers managing AI agents, non-human agents, doing intelligence work. This is especially relevant in cyber intelligence, and that's going to allow us to scale with efficiency more than ever before. But think about this. As we shift from AI as a tool to an autonomous mission partner, eventually where we're going to end up with is teams of CIA officers managing teams of AI agents. And how is that going to work? We're going to find out, but it's going to be a really, really interesting experience over the next 2 to 5 years of seeing how this plays out in the intelligence space. And the second thing I want to talk about is how it's going to transform everyday work, right? So there's a potential for AI to assist analysis, but also identify blind spots for the analyst and generate novel hypotheses for them to consider when they write about their analysis. Also, we could have AI autonomously identify intelligence gaps and generate novel collection strategies. We're trying to get to the point where officers spend 80% of their time thinking critically about intelligence rather than searching for it. Think about this. Right now, CA officers every morning, they log into their desks, they look at developments in their area and their geographic region, and they have to do kind of a manual way of getting situational awareness. But imagine this, in the future, AI agents have already done and they've already triaged the overnight intelligence for you. They've highlighted the most relevant operational developments, and they are also combining and collating the intelligence reporting for you to review as you drink your morning coffee. So instead of you logging into a workspace terminal to do all that work yourself, you have AI agents doing it already and giving you situational awareness. That's just a hint of the kinds of transformations that we expect in the next 2 to 5 years.
I mean, that's pretty awesome if I think about it. And it's sort of serving it to you on a silver platter, we'll call it that, right? And then perhaps some interaction that's going back and forth, right? About tell me more about this, that kind of thing is super powerful. So we really do appreciate it. I'm sure the officers absolutely look forward to that. All right, DC, you're going to take us home here and paint a picture of the future and what it's going to look like 2 to 3 years from now. You still got a dump truck full of requirements. out there
Yeah.
that you're trying to sort of draw down on, and you got half of them done, but it's a big dump truck. What's it going to look like 2 to 3 years from now? What are you all going to be focusing your attention on? You've licked the counter UAS issue. What's next?
Yeah, so I think that my partners said it clearly, right? It's going to be pervasive. It's going to be abstracted away, kind of underneath the hood. It's going to be assumed, and we're just going to be operating and rolling, right? So we have two futures ahead of us, right? And the key will be, do we get resilience right? Will we be building these AI tools and the systems that are dependent on these resiliently by design? We could have a future where there's the all of these software vulnerabilities that we see now, all these cyber attacks are kind of drastically reduced and eliminated or responded to it so rapidly that it never affects us again. Or we could just be building without the security in mind, and we're already flooded and overwhelmed by the number of risks and vulnerabilities and attacks that are going on a daily basis that we become completely overwhelmed by them. So we have the choice right now to. I think that we have a lot of great folks that are working on making sure that not only are we building the technology and testing out and applying it as fast as we can, but that we're giving people the tools to build it resiliently. So I'm hoping that in a few years, you won't even have to think about how do you do secure software development, how do you do secure technology development, because it's already embedded. The tools that you're using to help you design and engineer all these technologies are by default telling you and informing you and using secure ways so that it's underpinned by a foundationally resilient infrastructure so that we can have confidence that our critical infrastructure will be there for us, and we can continue to enjoy this great economic and society that we have here.
Really do appreciate that. Secure by design, a critical aspect, and AI certainly a big part of making that happen. I want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us for this program. I'd like to thank all the sponsors for supporting us on the show. I'd like to thank the good people here at Federal News Network that make our program so successful and enjoyable. And most of all, I'd like to thank the listening audience out there that tune in every month. You've been listening to the Federal Executive Forum, part of Federal News Network.